Welcome back, folks. So this is the second video for our circles chapter, chapter 9 for geometry. We're going to focus on the second essential concept, and this one's going to be really important for those of you moving on to A2. They use some of this stuff. So the equation of a circle in terms of x and y on the coordinate plane is as follows. It looks pretty complex at first. X minus h squared in parentheses plus in parentheses y minus k squared equals r squared. All right, the center of that circle can be found with hk and the radius of r. So it looks a little bit complex at first, and then what I'm going to do is try to show you that it's actually about the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so we'll get into a couple examples, and then we'll come back to this, and I'll show you. So quick, the questions I tried to complete for you in this, just to give you an example, is this is the equation of a circle. When both the x variable and the y variable are both squared, that's going to give you a circle as far as our coordinate plane goes, our xy plane. Now, it's a little strange. You're wondering, well, how come that is the same equation as this? There's nothing in the parentheses. Well, that's because h is 0. Okay, so if you have x minus 0, that's the same as just x. Okay, y minus 0 is the same as just y. So the center, when there's nothing in parentheses with x and y, the center is just going to be 0, 0. That's going to be pretty popular. Now, the radius is 4. This is a really common mistake for students. They'll cut this number in half. So the radius is not 8. Please don't fall for that. Of course, you know, if we were to take a Regents exam on this, one of the multiple choice questions, or one of the multiple choice possible answers, distractors, would be that the radius would be 8. All right, we don't want that. What we want is the radius is 4. You took the square root of 16. So 16 represents r squared. So r is the square root of 16, which is 4. All right, same thing with number 2. The center, because again, nothing's in parentheses with the x or y, center is again 0, 0. This time, though, when you take the square root of 36, it is just 6. Now, those things, let's say that it was, I don't know, 40 over here. You can get a decimal for the radius. We just wouldn't be able to graph it. So square root of 40, if this was a 40, the radius would be square root of 40. You can actually have a radius that's a square root or a decimal if they say it around. All right, you're going to try this one when I submit this on Google Classroom for you. So you'll just figure out, you'll put your answer in there. What's your center? What's your radius? There's really no work to be shown. I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, so number 4, what's the center and radius of this equation? All right, so now this time it's looking more like what the equation says. Okay, h is 3, k is 1. Okay, so that's why you have a center of 3, 1. Okay, it looks just like the, if you look back above, looks like the x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Again, square root of 9 gives you 3 for the radius. Okay, so this one, a little strange. Now there's a little bit of a difference here. So when it's x plus 2 quantity squared, it's not following exactly what the original expression looks like, x minus h. Oh, okay, so if there's a plus there, it's because it's a negative. That's all. So basically what you're going to come up with is you're going to realize, oh, so it's basically the center is going to be the opposite, same number, but the opposite sign. That's exactly right. So that's a shortcut for those of you that want to do it that way. Notice it is y minus 5. Okay, so it's minus, but then as the center, you get a positive 5. And of course, again, square root of 64, which is 8. All right, you try. The next type of question, third style that we should know, is how to test to see if a point is on a circle. Okay, given the equation and a point, one way is to test to see, does it work out algebraically? So basically what you're going to do is you're going to substitute in 4 for x, 2 for y, that's your x and y, and see if the left side does in fact equal the right side. Okay, so it does. So when you take 4 squared plus 2 squared, that is 20. Since 20 equals 20, since 20 on the left equals 20 on the right, it does work out. So that is going to be enough work to prove algebraically that this point is on the circle. Now we could graph them. There is a way to graph these, but we'll get into that in another session. So next one is the point 0, 0 on the circle. All right. So on the circle is basically on the outside, not the center. The center of the circle is 3, -4, with a radius of 5. The graphing way for that is to plot a circle, start with a center, 3, -4, find a radius of 5, and graph the whole circle to see if 0, 0 is on there. Okay, so graphically, that's what that would look like, and I explain it right there. Algebraically, you're going to plug in 0 for x, you're going to plug in 0 for y. So that's what I'm showing right here. -3 squared, now be careful, when the negative's in parentheses, you square it, it actually comes out positive 9. So 9 plus 16 is 25. You'll see the left side does equal the right side in that equation. So it is on the circle. Okay. Let's see. You're going to try number 9. I'm going to tell you that the answer is no. This point is not on the circle. You've got 2 ways that you can show this. You can plug in 4 and 6 into the expression on the left. You'll see that it's not going to be 49. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's 45-ish maybe. 6 squared is 36. 3 squared is 9. Yeah, so it'll be just inside. So it won't work. So show algebraically or graphically. Algebraically, you're just going to plug in and show that it doesn't work. Graphically, you're going to actually, you could take the center, is -2, 3. Okay, put a dot there. Go out, say 7 to the right. Put the center of your compass tool on -2, 3 on the center. Open up and draw your circle. You'll see that it just barely misses 4, 6. All right. The last style of question that you have to be able to complete is finding a missing point that will make the right triangle. Now, it doesn't say this is a circle question, but it is. Okay, so that's what we got into on the other video. Okay, so one way to approach this would be what we did in the other video. Let's see if that's back there. Okay, so if you remember on the other video, we could plot A and B. Okay, find the center, take your compass tool, put the center of your compass tool here, match up the radius there, and draw your circle, and then see where's, see what point looks the closest. But we want to try now. That's graphically. Now we want to try algebraically. Okay, that's going to take a little more work to show you how that works. I'll get back to that in a minute. Right now, I want to focus a little bit more on the work with these types of equations. So we'll go over to, let's see the notepad here. All right. So a couple quick questions. All right. So something like this. Just think for a second, pause the video. What's your center and radius going to be? Pause. See if you can get the right answer. And then start it up when you want to check your answer. Okay. So the center should be at -1, 6. You need this for next year, so make sure you study it a little bit. Okay. So what you're going to notice is, okay, that the center uses the same numbers with the opposite sign. So pretty simple. The one part that's tricky is to realize that this is representing r squared, right? So you just have to show the square root of it. We don't need the negative square root, okay? Plus or minus, right? We know that it's a radius is positive. All right. So let's go one more direction. What if I tell you the center is -5, 3, and the radius, let's say, do something like that. All right, let's write the equation. Go ahead and pause. See if you can write the equation without any instruction. All right, here's going to be the answer now. So it should be x plus 5 squared plus 1 minus 3 squared equals, careful, 81. So you have to square that. Notice that since that's negative, we're going to put it as a plus squared. It's a positive, so it's a minus. And that's your equation of a circle. Okay. All right, what's going to happen if we do something like this? Pause for a second, see if you can write the equation. All right. A little strange, but since the number with x is 0, you could do x minus 0 in parentheses squared, or just call it x squared. Most people would shortcut it to just saying x squared. It's y plus 7, because that's negative, and then don't forget to square. It's really tempting to double, right? That's going to be a distractor if it's a multiple choice question. All right, now we'll go to the more complex question. Let's see. So what they told us was A was -4, 1. B was 6, -9. And C was 2 something, right? So how do you solve a question like this, where you need to make C a right triangle? Or C, we need C such that it makes triangle ABC a right triangle. Okay, really complex, a lot of steps. The first thing you'd have to do is realize that if we want this triangle to be a right triangle, the method that we could use, okay, is right here. Plot AB, find the midpoint of AB, and then a circle with this radius, okay? Circle with that radius anywhere on that circle will allow us to make a guaranteed right triangle, okay? So it's pretty complex to find C algebraically. We'll get to that in a minute. It's much easier to find it, graphically using geometry. So let's go to algebra and let's figure out what's got to happen. All right, first I've got to find the midpoint. Now, for whatever reason, in geometry, we tend to call the midpoint O, or the center of a circle O. So we'll just keep that going. All right, midpoint. I'm going to add these and then divide by 2 to get the midpoint. That's going to be at 1, -4. Okay, go ahead and you can check and see why that's the midpoint. So that's going to be the midpoint of AB. Now that's going to be the center of our circle that we need to locate C. Okay. Now, here's basically how we use it. Our equation, we're starting out our equation. All right, we know the beginning of it. It's going to be x minus 1 squared plus y plus 4 squared equals, now we still need to finish r. We still need to find what r is. Okay. Now, the radius we can figure out, okay, from there to there. Use the distance formula. Okay, real fast. Difference between these two, okay, is 5. Difference between those two is 5. Okay, so real quick off to the side. We know what the radius is going to be. radius. Oh no. Got that. So the radius is going to be square root of 50. So the radius squared, which is 50. Okay, so now we can finally come to solving for y. It's a lot algebraically, but if you have to do it, that's it. All right, so we're going to plug in 2 for x, and we're going to solve for y. So all I'm doing right now is all the algebra. 1 squared is 1. Let's just skip a step. Subtracting 1 from both sides. Square root. Now, it's really technically plus or minus 7. Okay. And so we could say y plus 4. Oh, come on. Subtract 3. 4. I'm sorry, subtract 4 from both sides, get 3. So there it is. Okay. So the issue with this one, as you